you have patterns that you're not aware of that sabotages your relationship consistently. And the worst part about it is that you could go your whole life without knowing you're making those mistakes. Me, I went almost 20 or 30 years of being someone who was way too overbearing, of being someone who does way too much and not knowing why people didn't like me. I wish somebody told me what I'm about to tell you today because it really transformed my life. I literally had to ask someone in a trip in Italy to see why people tend to push me away a lot. And when she told me, it hurt, but it was the dose of reality that I needed. So today we're going to be talking about what are those things that the mistakes that people consistently make when they fall in love. Because what's happening is that deep emotions are controlling you when you're falling in love. And that causes you to lose a certain level of self awareness. So, having the awareness of the mistakes, and the next time you do it, will give you the mental liberty to change your behavior. All right. So, with that being said, let's begin with the video. And if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, people, go to mindfulattraction.org and you guys can book a happy one-on-one phone call with me. And you could talk to me about your situation. Just click on the description down below where it says work with Father Alex. And then you can book a 20, 40, 45, 1 hour, 10-minute, 15-minute session, confidential and private. All right. And if you guys want to support me as an artist, because one day I'm going to die and you guys can sell my paintings for more, you guys can, well, this is actually done by my student. These are my student done paintings. And so you could purchase this for $300. It's with oil. And you could purchase the paintings that I make. For example, this one is done with pastels. And all the paintings that I make are $1,000, people. So this is with oil, this is with watercolor, and this one is watercolor. So this was $100, right? You could purchase it in the description down below so that you guys can invest. I know I have a lot of rich followers. I got some boss bitches in my channel. All right, so I know you guys have your own office and you guys want decorations. Why not get it from your favorite creator? Imagine this in your living room or in your office. Come on, man. And you can say Father Alex made it for me. And then when I die, y'all can resell it for more. So click on the description down below where in the comment section, and you'll see a pinned comment with all the links to purchase my paintings. Okay. So let's begin with the video. The first mistake is the most common one, and that's because it's an instinct inside of human beings to want to overprotect and overgive whenever we love someone. But the problem is that that only works for kids. As adults, you have to learn how to pace yourself. Sometimes going with the emotion to want to care for them, without you even knowing it, you might do too much. And I've seen people do this. I've seen women that they sort of are not understanding that they might be doing a little bit too much, right? They're too overzealous. They're too excited about the potential relationship. And this is one of those things that people, whenever they think back about their failed relationships, they always say, I wish I would not have done so much, right? And that's actually, let me write it right there, right? Doing too much. And the way you want to do this, and the way you want to notice whether or not you're doing too much, is just follow their pace. Follow their pace. Match their energy, in the beginning at least. The reason why is because most likely a lot of people, if you're watching this video, you make this mistake a lot. These are emotions that you just cannot control. So having awareness that you might be doing too much, because to you it might not be much. You're just following a feeling. You're just following a sensation. You're just doing out of instinct. But without knowing that in the relationship, it might potentially push them away a little bit too fast, a little bit too much. So just learn to do less. And what you'll notice, if they want you to do more, they'll complain to you. They'll complain to you. They'll say, hey, why don't you, get what I mean? You got to create the need for them to want you to do more. And the way you do that is that they'll tell you, or they'll do more, so in the hopes that you could mirror them, right? And now look, and this one is actually kind of interesting. Ignoring the red flags. And the thing is with this is that this happens and you're not aware of it. You're not aware you're ignoring red flags. This is honestly a very unconscious thing. And so that's why you have to, when you're falling in love with someone, ask yourselves, what are the red flags? Because there are. Like my shirt is red. There are red flags, but some red flags are not as important as others. The problem is that this is called confirmation bias. You want to see what you want to see. You know, like you already made up your mind that this is the perfect relationship for you, and so you ignore all of these red flags.
And as a guy, I observe that, and you could kind of tell when she's doing that. You could sense that she's ignoring a red flag, right? And, okay. Let me not even go there. The next one, and this is actually, I have a story for you. Trying to change you. This happened a few months ago, not months ago, a few weeks ago, where I met this girl at this palace, like, it's in Mexico City. Anyways, so I bought her. We came over. I cooked some spam. I make really good Japanese food, and I cooked their spam, egg and rice with Japanese seasoning on the rice and avocado. Anyway, so she was like, "Oh, you eat this?" Sounds like she's from the Bronx. And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Oh, that's not good for you." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, you know, you can eat it once or twice a week." She's like, "Oh, hell no, once a month, man." I'm like, "All right." Well, she was like, "I don't want you eating that." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "I want you to eat healthy." I'm like, "Yo, this is the first time I met her. Like what?" I'm like, "What's going on here? Like, that's crazy. Like, you already suggested, like." So it's kind of like, yo, like, sometimes we when that happens is because it's almost like you're perfect, but let me just change this. And we do that a lot. You gotta realize, man, you gotta meet people where they are, man. You can't try to change people. Don't see them as they are and don't try to change them. If you don't like what you see, walk away. Because what it does is that it creates resentment in the person. I'm like, "Bitch, you're already trying to change my diet." I'm like, "It's not that bad to eat spam every day." And then she was like, "Oh, you can't put salt in the food." I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "You know what? You're doing me a favor, girl. You're doing me a big favor." All right? Because that is something that when you're really overzealous for a relationship, you don't know that you're doing this. That's a problem. You don't know that you're doing this type of mistake. "Oh my God, Father Alex is picking us up." Yep, we're walking over here, right? Oh shit, people. Oh yeah. Now the next one, there you go. You see, I moved you guys up. You see, Father Alex. Now the next one is focusing on chemistry and not on compatibility. Now, chemistry isn't just like the good times you have. It also means sexual chemistry, okay? This is the crackhead version of love. And that a lot of people will choose to be with someone who is not compatible with them, all because you have excellent chemistry with them. That is honestly one of the biggest mistakes, because this is where you actually waste your time. Where you waste your time with them, you invest time with them, but then after a year or so, you realize you guys are not compatible. You realize that you want kids and they don't want kids. You realize that they don't like to work out and you like to work out. You realize that they feel way too insecure because you're very social. You guys are not compatible, right? Even maybe the sexual habits are not compatible. Maybe the living habits are not compatible. Maybe you're more clean than the other person. Maybe this person cannot communicate as well. Like, maybe this person never takes responsibility for their mistakes. And you overlook that in the beginning because it feels good. Like I said, it's like a crackhead, right? The feeling is so good that you ignore the negatives. This is one of those things that ignoring compatibility is the number one thing that will waste your time with people. You just cannot do that. The next thing, and I find this one deeply important, ignoring conflict. This is how you know, this is the quickest way to know a person's character. Conflict is the quickest way to know a person's character. But the problem is that a lot of people, when they're falling in love, they're not giving a fuck about their character, because their brain creates what they call the halo effect, where because they're perfect for you, because you think they're great, you ignore all of the red flags, right? And this is one of those things that we all do that. We all ignore red flags when we like the person because the high is so good. The feeling of love is so good that your rational brain that is required to critically analyze a person, it's not active, because your amygdala is super active at that moment. You're feeling a high. You're only thinking about reward. You're not thinking about logic, consequences. And if the person is narcissistic, you might notice that you can't have conflict with them without them fighting. If the person is toxic, you might notice that you can't have a logical argument about the problem that you're having without them fighting. You gotta understand, without avoiding conflict is really the best way to avoid falling in love deeply. It's really the best way to keep the relationship at a superficial level. Because sometimes this will cause the relationship to end, but not because you guys did anything wrong, but because it just was not compatible. The chemistry causes you to avoid conflict because it just feels so good. It's like your drug dealer. You don't want to call him out for being late because you don't want him to not get mad at you. You don't want him to get mad at you, right? So when you fight with someone, what happens is something beautiful happens. Is that you tell them your problems, the incompatibility. Like maybe you're too dirty, or maybe you're too disorganized, or maybe you're always late, and they talk about it, and they kind of feel bad, right? And so and because they genuinely love you, they try to fix it, and then you feel good because they paid attention to your needs, and then they bring up their needs, and then you also pay attention, and then over time you develop a upward spiral. I call it the upward spiral of love. That each time conflict arises, the maturity level that you both have, because it's actually a character quality. You're able to take criticism. You're able to be wrong. You're able to admit being wrong. You're able to compromise. You're able to change things around for them. All of that thing raises the love. But if you avoid the conflict, you guys can never test proof your relationship. This is how you know you're with someone that you're with a keeper. That you're able to fight. You're able to have warm conflict, not Bronx mode, fucking Timberland boots having as conflict. No, absolutely not. It's really about warm, fucking white girl in Africa type of conflict. Hey, Kun Kun, it's me, Melissa. I came to. Okay, that's racist. That's racist. Fuck. Kun Kun. I'm thinking of like Pum Pum. Right? And honestly, I think this is the most important thing, in my opinion. This is the most important thing because this entails being vulnerable. This entails testing your compatibility. This entails you being able to show that you're able to get dirty with them. And the thing is, you got to do this a certain way, right? Because I remember with the last girl that I dated, she was so awesome. She was really good at conflict. Like she would and I wasn't good at it, but I was open to it, right? Like I was really open to it because as a person, I really cared for her. And she would say like, hey, Alexis, like, sometimes you're difficult to read, and I tried, but I have my flaws, like I'm flawed. Like that's my flaw as a person. But I tried, and we tried, and it didn't work out. But the conflict that we had made me like just understand that I was lucky to be with her. You know what I mean? Because she was just so good at that, and not only that, but she was open. She tried to fix it a lot, and the way that she did it made me realize that this is the most important thing in the relationship, because even though it didn't work out, we did it the right way. We went to therapy, and the process was great. The results didn't happen, but the process was excellent. And I think that was the most important thing. And that proved to me that she was a really great person, right? But when you avoid conflict, sometimes avoiding conflict means fighting, going Bronx mode. Like making a big scene to avoid talking about the real issues. You know what I mean? Making sure it's recording. The next thing is that this is the next thing. It happens when you avoid conflict. Is that you walk on eggshells, right? Where you're afraid to be who you really are. You're afraid to fight. You're afraid of their response. And the reason why you walk on eggshells is because you think they're better than you sometimes. You think they provide more value than you provide to them. And a lot of times you get manipulated into walking on eggshells because somebody who's healthy for you will tell you to don't do that. Will tell you, hey, it's okay, be honest with me. If I'm doing something you don't like, tell me. Because as you're falling in love, you have to keep some sense of rationality. You can't just go full-blown creepy-ass Melissa mode, right? And the next thing is not setting boundaries. We usually just set boundaries when we like the person, when we don't like the person, or when we're willing to walk away. And this is where people lose themselves in relationships. This is where people stop being themselves in a relationship. And this is where people end up consistently creating patterns of one-sided relationships where they're the ones that are getting played, or they're the ones that only date people who are super submissive. It's not good. So let's talk about this, right? Let's review this. So remember, focusing on focusing on chemistry over compatibility. That's some crackhead type of shit. You can't do that. That's how you get played. Avoiding conflict, right? Why? Because you're afraid to walk away. Walking on eggshells, you finally met that person. Sometimes you know they're out of your league. And so you walk on eggshells. Not setting boundaries, right? Doing way too much, which you may not know, but it actually turns people off. Ignoring the red flags. You can't ignore red flags, but it happens when you're high on love, right? When you're addicted to the love and you're not willing to walk away. Trying to change them, like that's because, I'm perfect, bro. You got to change this. That type of stuff, people get resentful when you do that.
So now that you know this, the next time you're falling in love, bring awareness. Have look around and see, am I ignoring red flags? Am I ignoring compatibility? Give your brain nudges of rationality, because if you just if you're not aware, I am telling you, you're going to make mistakes and you're not going to notice it, and you're going to ask yourself, why did I ruin this? And you're only going to notice your mistake retrospectively. That's honestly the most horrible thing. Like, we all remember moments when we should have just said, like, damn, man, I wish I would have just left him alone. I wish I would have just stood up for myself. I wish I would have said something. We all have those moments, and we only realize it before. The key to this video is that now you know. Next time, just keep alert, keep an eye out for it. Am I walking on eggshells? Am I avoiding conflict? And if you become aware of that, and all of a sudden you notice you're doing that, that is perfect. You may not change your creepy behavior then, but it is the step to liberating yourself from your own patterns of self destruction and self sabotage. And over time, you start to see how you really come across, not how you think you're coming across, not how you feel like people deserve to, how you feel like you need to be treated, but exactly as you are. And the beauty about it is that it comes with a certain level of acceptance. You come across as so relaxed, so vulnerable, so authentic, and above all, so confident. This is something that's felt. And what this will do is not going to accelerate a person falling in love with you. It's not going to make anybody falling in love with you. It's going to allow what's going to happen at its appropriate pace, which in your case, it seems like it's speeding up. But that's because we self-sabotage ourselves. We stop ourselves the most. And all of a sudden, when you become aware of these patterns, people start liking you more. But no, it's not that they like you more. It's just that you're not annoying them as much anymore. You're not turning them off as much anymore. It's just that because a lot of the times our needy habits lower our results, man. Like me, after I stopped doing the shit that I was doing in before going to Italy, all of a sudden I started noticing that women, like, they're just reacted to me much different, and guys reacted different, right? Guys were like, they showed more respect. Even in basketball, they treated me different because I was just doing too much and I wasn't aware of it because that's all I knew. It will be a good thing to ask your exes, if they're honest, or even your friends, what are some things that I do that might turn people off? You might be surprised, or you might be afraid to ask, which is a sign that you are doing shit that turns people off. Right? Hey, look, you could do it, man. Don't be discouraged. The best thing in life is realizing your mistakes. It really is, because it empowers you. If you're not making mistakes and people still don't like you, damn, you're fucked, right? But most likely you're doing something, so there is hope. All right. Anyways, let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to work with me one on one, go to mindfulattraction.org and you can book a phone call. If you guys are interested in purchasing any of my courses, watch the next video, my outro, where I talk about my selling, where I talk about my bundle, where I sell all of my courses in one bundle. All right. Or you could purchase them individually one on one. But check out the outro if you're interested. Take care. Bye bye.